Well, that of course is our top focus, and the latest coming in is that the Maldivian President Ibrahim Solih has welcomed and thanked the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for visiting the Maldives and participating in the presidential inauguration ceremony. In a joint statement, both leaders agreed on the importance of maintaining peace and security in the Indian Ocean. Both the leaders also said that they would be mindful of each other's concerns and aspirations for the stability of the region. Prime Minister Modi and Solih also expressed unwavering commitment and support for increased cooperation for combating terrorism within the region. The two also agreed that they would work together to ease out the need for facilitating easy visa procedures. The Maldives Foreign Minister will visit India on the 26th of this month. Notably, India has been the only country invited for the swearing in of the President Ibrahim Solih. And joining us live now is Ambassador Arun Singh for more on, of course, what this means for India as well as for the Maldives. And Ambassador Arun Singh, thanks very much for talking to us this evening. Now, we've already seen the joint statement and, of course, that President Solih has welcomed and thanked the Prime Minister. But do you really think that this visit that comes after 7 years, it looks like that India has been able to, sort of have an advantage over China, and things really turned around in the last couple of months?
There have been many significant milestones today. The Indian Prime Minister was the only head of state or government present on the occasion. Also, this was the first visit that Prime Minister Modi has made to the Maldives since he was elected in 2014, although he has visited all the other SAARC countries. And as you mentioned, this is the first time an Indian Prime Minister has visited Maldives since 2011. And then if you look at the joint statement issued after their meeting, what is important is the reference that they would be mindful of each other's aspirations, which is a take on the fact that India's security concerns would be taken into account by the Maldives. And then there's a reference to the fact that they would work together to deal with the challenge of terrorism. And that, again, is an important concern for India. So what has happened with the Prime Minister's presence today, the outcome of the elections, that in the past, what China was attempting through unsustainable debt practices to get a foothold in the Maldives and affect decision-making there, that has for now been stalled, because China has taken over a major airport project. They were building a bridge from the airport to the capital island, and then one island had been leased to China ostensibly for tourism purposes, but it was clear that they would use their presence there to start mapping out the Indian Ocean, and we are already aware of the presence of Chinese submarines in the Indian Ocean. So clearly that would be an effort to make Chinese submarine presence even more in the Indian Ocean, and all that would naturally cause concern to India. So given that, the developments that have taken place would for the moment certainly give satisfaction to India.
Yeah, that one-on-one meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Solih was hugely important. The joint statement, of course, touches upon regional stability. Ambassador also, of course, talking about terrorism and, easier visa procedures as well. But having said that, China still remains a big player here. The fact remains that, the Maldives government owes the Chinese government 1.5 billion in debt. So it's not like they're going anywhere anytime soon.
One cannot wish China away. The fact is that China's GDP has increased tremendously over the past decades. Today's China's GDP is 5 times India's GDP. Its defense expenditure is 3 or 4 times India's defense expenditure. As a result, it has a growing presence, not just in the region around China, not just in ASEAN, not just in South China Sea, but also in the Indian Ocean and in South Asia. They have a growing presence in Nepal. They have a growing presence in Sri Lanka. In the broader Indian Ocean region, they have a base facility in Djibouti. They are working on the China-Pakistan economic corridor. They are looking at developing facilities in Gwadar. So the fact is that China is establishing a growing presence in the region around India. But that having been said, whatever can be done to ensure that India's security concerns are factored in, and it is not that Chinese start affecting decision-making in critical countries surrounding India in a manner adversarial to India. To the extent that that can be thwarted, It is important. And although China has certainly created a lot of debt for Maldives, the new government can certainly ask for an audit of that debt. In what manner has it been spent?
Right.
What are the terms and conditions? It can work on creating public opinion to challenge those terms and conditions.
Right.
So there are ways of dealing with that.
Right. There are ways of dealing with that, but, initial reports already suggesting that one way that, the Maldives government now expects India, US and other friendly neighbors and partners to help is to give money, to sort of ease off the debt burden from the Chinese. We believe that, there's something like 200 to 300 million is what the expectation is. So there is a pragmatic sort of relationship that needs to unfold here as well. It's all good to be, friendly neighbors, India first policy, but it will only unravel in a certain way if India steps up and actually can do all those things that the new Maldives government is expecting it to do.
Each government will have to assess in what manner it wants to respond. You'd have seen that some weeks ago, the US Secretary of State, in response to Pakistan's asking for loans from IMF, had said that they would want to scrutinize it to make sure that IMF lending is not used by Pakistan to pay off debts to China. So certainly each government would want to provide Maldives whatever support it needs, and whatever support may also serve the interests of the countries that are becoming partners in this process. But I think nobody would just want that the money they are providing goes straight to China. So I think there needs to be, beyond providing support to Maldives, for the Maldives people and government themselves to ask questions about the manner in which China has done lending and whether that should be the way forward in the years to come. And it's a lesson not just for Maldives, but it's a lesson for other countries in Africa, elsewhere. And we have to see what happens in Nepal, the manner in which China wants to provide any kind of lending support there. So all around India, the kind of practice they are following, that should be challenged, and that is the more important step to take.